Welcome to the Insatiable Lust for Life. I'm your host, Stephen North, and in this episode, we're taking a deep dive into the labyrinth of the mind, and more importantly, the shadows that cast when left unchecked. I'm joined once again by the brilliant and soul-centered Janine Keall, and together we'll explore one of the greatest paradoxes of human experience, the mind as a creative servant and the mind as a master of limitation. Drawing on the wisdom of Amy North and the Ascended Masters, as well as our own lived experience, this conversation explores how negative thinking, egoic interference, and unresolved beliefs can quietly sabotage our joy, distort our truth, and distance us from the stillness of the soul. The ego's cunning voice of doubt, and how it thrives on chaos and duality. The way fear, a phenomenon generated by the mind, corrodes intuition and delays destiny. How negative thinking patterns are often born of conditioning, karma, and unconscious memory, dragging us into loops that feel inescapable until we awaken to them. And then we'll talk about liberation, because there is a way through, and it begins not with more thinking, but with awareness, forgiveness, surrender, and trust. Together, we'll reflect on how to reclaim sovereignty of the mind, retrain our thought patterns through silence, stillness, and soul alignment, shift from fear into curiosity, from judgment into acceptance, from suffering into presence, and live from the heart where peace and clarity abide. Janine will also share a poem that speaks to the journey of self-remembrance, I hope, a beautiful and vulnerable offering to all of us navigating the human experience. So whether you're feeling overwhelmed by your thoughts, stuck in a cycle of negativity, or just curious about how to quiet the inner noise, this episode is a loving invitation to step back, breathe deep, and remember, you are not your mind. You are far vaster, wiser, and more luminous than the thoughts you think. Let's step into the stillness together and begin. Hello, Janine. How are we?
Hello, Stephen. I'm very well, thank you very much. And how are you?
I'm doing quite well.
Brilliant. Very ready for this podcast.
This is a very interesting time because it's the first time that we're doing it through video. And this topic is very big. It was a good explanation and good exploration, I should say, into the mind, because it is something that we all struggle with. It's something that we find ourselves talking about and addressing, and it's like, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not this, I'm not that. So it is a good topic to talk about if I just get my stuff together. You know, over the years, Amy has talked about the mind, the masters have talked about the mind. There is so much to discuss that I thought, well, yeah, let's have the opportunity.
Absolutely. Do you want to start with that question?
No.
Okay.
Let's take a look at some of the things that Amy has written. The mind is often described as a complex entity frequently associated with the ego or lower self. This part of you tends to fight against what your soul seeks, telling you that you are not good enough or providing reasons to avoid your true path. When the mind is in control, it's an indication that your heart or soul are not, leading to feelings of anxiety, worry, or stress. And this is a very big thing, because how often are we worrying? How often are we stressing? How often are we experiencing anxiety? We are constantly in this period in time experiencing all of it, whether it's stress about money, stress about cost of living, worrying about where income is coming from, you know, the anxiety of speaking with people that you don't want to speak with, or the anxiety of being ghosted, or the anxiety of not getting what you expected, the anxiety of driving in wet weather. There's so much stuff that we worry about. And I see it a lot in my life where it's like, is all this anxiety causing me to delay my own growth, or is it forcing me to grow, or has there been opportunities I've missed because of worry, stress, and anxiety?
Absolutely. I think it's both, really, isn't it? It's an aspect of both. I know for me, I've been triggered a lot recently, and it's how we respond to it, really, isn't it? You know, we can see it as like be a victim of it and just see it from the surface, just see it from face value. But the thing I've been sort of looking at of late is just facing it, facing that whatever's coming. Because if you just take it from face value, then what do? You're in resistance. You're resisting what is, and it causes more. It sort of exaggerates it, exacerbates it. And so, for myself, I've been observing it to see what's really going on here, because I think a lot of the stuff as well isn't just always from us. I think it can come from the collective with all this clearing that's happening on the planet. I think we've got to discern what's ours and what isn't ours. What do you think about that?
It is a really big topic, this mind thing, because it's like, which direction are we going to go with? There's a paragraph here that reads, "The ego is defined as what you are not and represents the voice of doubt, fear, and negativity. It thrives on chaos, disrupts peace of mind, and seeks to keep you off balance. It actively works to keep you at a lower vibrational level, preventing growth and alignment with your higher purpose, sometimes even encouraging negative karma. The ego uses past experiences as a tool to make current situations seem more dire than they are. Fear, for instance, is largely a mind-produced phenomena, rather than a real threat except in cases of immediate physical danger. This mind-generated fear has grown to eroding people's minds and their lives. It can manifest subtly, causing delays in life or leading to an outright denial of a person's life purpose. Our mind can then become cluttered with information from the internet, from television and media, which generates reactions including fear related to mass media. Your mind can also be conditioned by negative beliefs about yourself and the world, often leading to a pattern of taking 2 steps backwards after 1 step forward. This conditioning is deeply ingrained from early childhood and past lifetimes, shaping your thoughts, feelings, and actions. The mind often operates in a dualistic state, focusing on opposites like right and wrong, good and bad. The perspective is heavily integrated into physical reality and can lead to clinging to what is good or creating barriers against what is bad, thereby suffocating connections and preventing fluid movement in life. This dualistic mindset can make one feel disempowered, as if life is just happening to you and you're being kicked around by problems. People often accept life as dysfunctional due to ingrained beliefs, for example, about money and scarcity, which they guard rather savagely. Focusing on lack of money, of love, of health generates negative emotions like worry and fear, which in turn attracts more lack into life. A busy or noisy mind makes it harder for guidance to get through. A mind clouded with egoic thoughts can lead to a state of disconnection from your soul, making it seemingly unreachable. The human mind can also interfere with spiritual communication. And as I'm reading this, I'm sitting here questioning my own experiences, getting frustrated with a health crisis, getting frustrated with systems, getting frustrated with having to sit still. And I'm still asking myself the question, it's like, what is ego? It seems to be almost an operating system that was ingrained into our belief structures that we seem to have taken as mandatory to exist on this world because it's societal norms. It's what we experience growing up. It's what we see our parents. It's what we see our ancestors doing. It's kind of like a way forward, but then there are people that live and highlight a way forward and we just ignore it or we attack it because it's a different way of living. It has me thinking a lot, especially with the feeling disempowered, as if life is just happening to you when life is happening through you. It's a really big topic because it has to make us stop and ponder. Like, we can change our thoughts and silence our mind. I mean, one of the greatest benefits of fibromyalgia is the silencing of your mind because your brain don't work. But it's leaving me to this state of, okay. Makes me question experiences as whether they were the opportunities to look at life differently. I mean, I do look at life differently because we have to remember that everyone goes through hardships, everyone goes through experiences, and just because they look healthy doesn't mean they are. We don't know what another person is experiencing. We don't know what another person is thinking. It's just even driving in the car tonight on the way back. I because it was heavily raining. The roads were wet and puddles everywhere and water splashing. It was like having seeing cars just racing past you. It's like, oh, don't you care about safety? Or you start having that little panic as you hit this massive puddle because your car's about to stop or get taken
Yeah,
off the
because
road.
like you're not in control of other people, are you really? And you can control your own car, but you don't know what somebody else is going to do in that situation. So that makes you feel anxious, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's something that I've been seeing lately and almost recurring.
I think that's also a case that it's like we're so used to like controlling our life, and yes, we can control to a point, but it's not just about us, is it? There's all these dynamics with other people, and what are they going to do? How are they going to react, respond? And it's like our mind is so wrapped up in what other people think, because we've been programmed to sort of like seek approval, praise, validation, love. And so for us, it's like opinions are so important, and that again can control our life. I know that has in my own life. I've had such a control, somebody trying to control me, and what tends to happen is you get this paranoia. You start to feel that unworthiness comes in, and always feeling bad or wrong. It was like this week, actually. What happened this week was really interesting because there were some changes, and I automatically thought, oh, I've done something wrong, that I'm in the bad, I'm bad, I've said something, I've done something, why has this happened? Just automatically gone to those thoughts because of stuff that's happened in the past where I've been constantly judged, constantly berated and condemned for doing something wrong. So that automatically just comes into my mind, this paranoia. And it's like, I really looked at it and thought, what's going on here? Why do I always do that?
I get that anytime someone goes, "Oh, we need to catch up and have a talk." Yeah, we need to discuss things. We need to talk, and I go straight into anxiety mode. And I have a feeling it's from conditioning because it's like, "Uh-oh, am I in trouble? What have I done?"
Yeah,
And then, and
exactly.
then you'll get congratulated or a pat on the back or promoted or something else. But the whole anxiety is there strongly as if it's like, oh, oh, quite fascinating.
Absolutely. We just go into these reactions, don't we? That it's just so automatic because we've been doing it for so long. Um, we're not thinking about it. It just like that worst case scenario comes up because we're just so used to having that reaction to everything because we don't trust. It's like that lack of trust, isn't it? And that things could work out, and like seeing things from other perspectives and other viewpoints, because this thinking from the mind is very linear, and it only like sees things from one viewpoint rather than multiple angles.
It reminds me of a story, uh, more stories, when about this whole trusting the universe. And growing up as a teenager, I would find myself in positions where I would have great stress, great stress. Like as a teenager, getting someone. Mm, I don't really want to bring that side of things up, but it was a really tough experience, and I didn't have a job, and I couldn't afford to go through this procedure, and I became really, really stressed. Then, almost a month before this procedure was required, I managed to get myself a job. I held it for a month, long enough to save up the money to have this procedure done. And I did everything I could. I stressed, I panicked. I had massive anxiety. I needed to do this on myself. Although I was a teenager, you can run to your parents, but my parents have always been, bailing out myself with blowing up cars and melting engines, and this was very personal, and I didn't really want to discuss it. And it came to the point that everything went through well, happened, and the surgery happened, and everything was fine. So then, a few years later, I started seeing this trend that every time there's something major in my life, I would stress, I would worry, and then eventually things would work out right at the last minute. Actually, another story was when I'm going through severe financial hardship. The bank was taking legal action, was about to take the property away from me because I couldn't pay my loan because of the loss of income, couldn't find jobs, etc., etc. And it came down to the very last minute that everything worked out fine, because although I didn't have the thousands of dollars required to pay out their arrears, I was able to wing it, that I was able to sell the property, get a letter from the lawyer that was representing the bank to take the money out of my mortgage, then and out of my superannuation, which paid the arrears of the mortgage. I then took the bank to the financial ombudsman because they said that in regards to the tenant in the property, they would take the key, so the tenant was able to vacate the property, even though they'd signed a 12-month contract. So because they said they would take the keys, we allowed the tenant to leave without any penalty, although I missed out on rent. So they gave me another $3,000, and that $3,000 option was how much I needed to settle the full sale of the property.
Wow.
So I walked away with a profit of 50 cents. Like, everything just worked out at the last minute. And if you look at it, there's grand intelligence with this design.
Absolutely.
The same with my car, the BMW. Like, everything just worked out, even though it was a bomb. It was like I should have picked the first car. But all these times I've been worrying and stressing and trying to figure out ways to get back on my feet and control, and it just doesn't work. But then I remember back in 2015 when I had a session with the masters, and they said, surely by now you've realized and observed that you're looked after. That anytime you were
All of those
taking off the path,
experiences.
anytime you were taking off the path that you're on, there's always you're allowed to wander off, but then there'll be an intervention and you get whacked right back on. You don't have the luxury of deviating. And yet, I still worry today whether I'm on the right path.
Oh, I'm like that all the time. Feeling lost all the time. But perhaps that's just part and parcel of this human experience, is about needing to know. Do we need to know? Because like you said, you had these experiences and tried to control it in the way you thought would be best, but it turned out a different way. But it just goes to show that we don't need to control things. I had an experience where I'd taken some stuff to the tip, and I had to go up this quite steep road, and I didn't have a lot of petrol in the car. And as I was going up, the petrol gauge went right down, and I thought, when I got to the actual refuge centre, I thought I didn't have enough petrol, and I was sort of panicking. And I was trying to ring my parents to see if they could come and help, and they couldn't. So I thought, what am I going to do now? I just sort of surrendered. Next minute, this guy from the refuge centre came, and I said, "Oh, I need some help because I think I need some petrol. I can't move out of the centre." And this woman overheard, because he couldn't do anything about it, and she came and she said, "I'll take you to the petrol station." And this guy gave us like this empty petrol can. So we went to the petrol station, got some petrol, brought it back in. He poured the petrol back in, and I managed to get on. But that was just from surrendering. Like, well, there's nothing much I can do. I might be stuck here for a while. But this woman turned up out of the blue and said, I'll take you to the petrol station. And that was like proof to me that, yeah, I'm being looked after here. You could easily, I could easily have just been stuck there. Or I've had to get public transport or something, leaving the car there. But these things do happen. It's just pretty amazing.
Yes, it is quite interesting. It's like, I find the mind to be truly fascinating, because it's like when I'm sitting here thinking about things and feeling the medication kick in, it's really interesting. The mind is such an extraordinary thing. Like, the masters talk about the heart brain and the mind brain, and Amy talks about disconnecting from the human mind and moving into the celestial mind and moving into the heart space and operating from the heart. Like, the way the masters explained it, and this is not the words that they use, but this is my interpretation, is you're working in a job full time, decided to take maternity leave and have not one but two children. Not at the same time. You have one and then you take maternity leave and then you have another one. And so let's just say you leave the job and you don't come back for 2-3 years. So the heart is a substantive employee. It's the heart's job to do the processing, the heart, the thinking, the processing, etc. So then they've taken a hiatus. So the mind brain takes over, and our entire culture, our entire civilization has this new temporary employee working in there. But the temporary employee, because they've been working in this job for so long, has decided to take ownership of this job. So then when the substantive employee comes back, and there he comes the heart, plodding along, I'm going back to work, I'm taking over, and getting back, I'm looking forward to starting up again and getting back into the flow of everything. And the good old temporary employee, the mind is saying, this is my job, go away. And all of a sudden we've got this conflict going on, because the mind brain is saying, hey, this is my job, I own the job, it's mine, mine, mine. And the heart's saying, but it's my job, you're temporary and you're fired, or you can leave, or you can move on and do something else. But then all of a sudden you've got this conflict going on, because you're like, which one do you believe? Because we try and live from the heart, and then we face challenges, we face obstacles, we faced all sorts of chaos and drama, because other people will try and shoot you down.
We're so used to going there, though, into the mind, aren't we? That's what they're saying, is like it's so habitual because of that programming, either from childhood or past lives. And this question I wanted to ask was about, like, why has the mind been made the master? And it's because of that.
Distraction.
It's because I've lost my train of thought now. Oh.
You're talking about...
Yeah, it was why is the mind made the master in it? And I think it's because those who wish to control know that the mind is, what I've put here is that mind cannot think for itself. It can't think independently. Like the heart, that is the receiver for guidance and inspiration and ideas that are coming from the universal mind or from spirit guides. Whereas the mind it relies on past experience, it relies on collating information, accumulating information, and it relies on past experience. And being in that mindset, it creates, and that it's been made to believe that that's the be all and end all of what we're to use to navigate our life. That we're in this constant feeling of inferiority, insecurity, fear, instability. And so we're like sort of headless chickens. We don't really know what we're doing. But we think, oh, like you said, the mind doesn't want to move out of this job because it's trying to take control of everything because it thinks it knows best. Because, oh, I've got all this information that I want to use, and it's just like on repeats, like stuck record. But that's how we get controlled. Because what do we rely on? We rely on the external world for all the instructions and the directions and the information. And obviously, because we've been doing it for such a long time, it's become really habitual. We naturally go back to the mind because it's like, oh, it's been our home for so long. We
If
see it as
that's
like,
all you
oh,
know, then how can you step out of it? It'll take a lot of courage to decide to go, I want to operate differently. This isn't working for me. I want to change the way I think. I want to change the way I process. It's almost like we have to have a lot of hardships in order to make that decision. It's not something
things
we can
don't
just
work out.
randomly decide overnight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we do have to, we do, I can't get my words out. We do have to reflect on everything, don't we? But I think one of the things we don't do, and I think that is one of the things we don't do, is just that reflecting. When you're going through this hardship, like I did a video about the gift of limitation, and I had to take a step back from it and thinking, because I can easily complain about it, I could easily fall a victim of it, and say, why me? And I thought, what do I need to do here? How can I change this? And the way I was thinking of was, well, I need to reflect on it, look at it, and start looking at the blessings rather than, oh, complaining about it, finding fault with it. And as I did that, it's opened things up. Could see things from a different perspective. And then when you see things from a different perspective, it's like, well, you can make a different choice. You become more aware. The thing that we do, a lot of us, we tend to do is that we have these experiences and we make a judgment about it, a story about it, an assumption about it, but we don't look at it. We don't take a step back and we don't reflect. We don't see what's really going on. And what we tend to do is just like go and numb ourselves out, occupy, avoid, or maybe go to the next experience and then the next experience and then the next experience instead of what's going on right here, right now, where the opportunity for change can actually take place. That's my thought on it anyway. That's what I've experienced from this experience of limitation, is that when I started to see it from those different perspectives, I was able to cope with it better. I didn't necessarily want to, because I wanted to escape it. I thought, this shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening? And I want to get out of it. And when I started to see it from those different perspectives, it was like, well, no, I don't actually want to escape from this because there's benefits to it. Like having this limitation I was avoiding distraction. If I'd have had money, which was the limitation for me, I would have been distracted. I would have been going out doing all these different things. And that in the long term wasn't good, because what this was doing was, it was like developing a new direction. It was sending me to another avenue to explore. And from that, then it developed into a new interest, like doing videos. But if I hadn't had that limitation, that wouldn't have occurred. But I think it's
So
just that we
essentially,
need to. Sorry.
you're saying when you get onto the diving board and you look down and all you see is the unknown, take the plunge. You don't know where you're going to end up.
It's that trust factor, trust and faith. Again, like that, what you were saying, it's about learning to trust, learning to have faith in that we are supported, even though we can't see that support.
I've been looking at a few books before we move into the part of how we could bring change to our life, into overcome negative thinking. And one of the sources say here that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle suggests that everything exists within and is a manifestation of an infinite universal mind. While the mind of creation holds all thought in silence, the human mind tends to correlate with thinking. The mind is considered a wonderful servant, but it makes a terrible master. Its
Absolutely.
intended function is as an instrument for learning, creativity, and practical action, aiding growth and evolution. However, when it assumes control, it can create havoc. True power resides in consciousness, not in the limited mind. There's an intricate mind body connection where thoughts and emotions directly influence physical health. The body symptoms often provide clues about underlying emotional energy and patterns that need addressing. Unprocessed emotional energy, unresolved experiences, limiting beliefs, fear, and negativity are identified as major contributors to misery and illness. Negative thinking is explored as a pervasive and detrimental pattern and often stems from unconscious memories from the past to project into the present and can manifest as draining vocabulary and negative self talk. And then to overcome this, it takes a lot of work. And it's not going to be something that happens overnight because, for example, when we look at the cesspit that we call Twitter, it's full of hatred and negative talk. It's not about having an open communication. It's about being hammered and criticized because you've missed out a point or someone doesn't understand what you're saying, or whether you're just being attacked by some automated bot farm that's just there to create chaos in rather than sitting in peace. Almost, the only way to get peace is to turn off the news, turn off social media, and hide and bury your head in the sand.
Be a recluse.
It really seems to be the only way to have peace. When you look at Master Kathumi, one of his lifetimes, he went to the top of a mountain and stayed there for 10, 20 years.
Quite a few masters have done
So,
that, haven't they?
yeah, isolate himself just so that he could find himself within the stillness. So, how do we retrain the mind? And this is where I create the heart activation music because it actually helps retrain the mind and disconnect, almost like a rapid acceleration, but it does take time, it takes work. Some of the things that Amy has said is that healing the mind involves changing your thoughts and expanding them outward. It requires observing your thoughts and forgiving any negativity, thoughts, reactions, people, or yourself. This act of forgiveness is described as a very powerful tool for letting go and starting over, freeing you from the past. I will tell you now that forgiveness makes everything easy.
Is that
In
Honopono prayer?
Well, in the previous episode, I talked about ghosting, and it's like, well, you know what? I can be angry and emotional, but I just forgive because whatever.
Die to the past in every moment.
The joys of fibromyalgia is you really can't hold on to much.
Absolutely not. I mean,
It's
if we
it's
do, then we're tainting the present moment, aren't we? We're bringing in those past problems into the here and now, into what is fresh, and like every moment is a beginning, it's a start. And what do we think about? Oh, we bear a grudge about somebody who's done something to us, or this experience they had that was terrible, and we're bringing that into our present experience. But in the present experience, there is no problem. It's fresh. It's only our thoughts, our interpretations of life and things that have happened to us, or we're anxious about the future, that taints the here and now and spoils it. Life can be enjoyed right now in its
yeah,
simplicity. We don't
you know,
need to, I need to get this, I need to have that, I need this to happen, I need this to turn out this way, I need to get this big house or a posh car or the beautiful clothes, and all these expectations that we have and we hold on to. It's like, that is what is the problem. Because we're striving for all these things that we think we need because we're in this state of lack. And we're only in this state of lack because we're not connecting to our true nature,
But
which is not in a state of light.
what if this lifetime is to experience life?
You can still experience life, of course. I'm not saying,
But
oh, you.
like, what if we've chosen a lifetime of? Because I often listen to these thoughts of mine and conversations, and it's like, but what happens if I've chosen to be homeless? I mean, what if the soul plan is to have that experience? But
Absolutely, yeah.
then we can still let go of old concepts. Um,
There's been
so,
homeless people that have like found freedom, found peace.
I mean, I
In
have heard
fact,
stories of homeless people becoming very wealthy because
yeah,
they're swinging from one end of the spectrum to the other because their ambition, their strength, their power comes from the hardships.
yes. And it's like they're learning to appreciate life. They're finding the blessings in life, the gratitude because of not having much. It's like the saying goes, less is more. And you're learning to appreciate life because you don't have much. Like the poorest people tend to be the most grateful people because they everything they do have they really appreciate. They're not because they haven't got so much. They have not accumulated so much. They can really enjoy what they do have in the moment, in the now. I was wanting to share a story with you about this guy who was in high security prison in Alcatraz, and he found freedom in there. And those inmates were like killing each other. They were on drugs and all sorts. They were just massive egos, and they were all clashing with each other. And this prisoner found freedom in there. This soul had decided to put him into prison to find freedom. I was like, wow, that is inspiration, You think, and I'm thinking about me and my limitations and thinking, well, that's nothing. At least I can go out into nature and enjoy nature. What can he do? He's stuck in a prison, but yet he still found freedom. I'm thinking, that's inspiration. That's something to follow. No matter what it just shows it doesn't matter what circumstances you're in, you can find that peace, you can find that freedom if you really want to, if you're willing to change your mindset,
So
think differently, see it from
essentially,
a different perspective.
so this so summary of that would be we need to shift perceptions and embrace non-duality, because even just thinking about the example of going from one end of the extreme to the other, so in confinement we find freedom, in in poverty we find riches. It's almost like a dualistic spectrum, but yet if we can shift our perception and embrace non-duality or transcend duality, as Amy has said here, while living in a dualistic physical reality, the mind doesn't have to be limited by it. You can enter a non-dualistic state, which is the nature of eternity and allows you to rise above all of it. Adopting non-duality mindset liberates us from the prison of the mind and allows us to observe life rather than feeling kicked around by it. This shift brings a sense of empowerment. Once we learn to accept things as they are, including the shortcomings of others without judgment, this acceptance of the fact that they exist is a path to peace, especially with challenging relationships or annoying external stimuli. Bad, good, right, wrong are ingrained beliefs that create divisions and need to be reversed. We can see this division strongly in the US right now. Actually, we probably see it everywhere we look. But if we can shift, it's almost like we need to rewire our brains. Also, you have a drawing because you've got a drawing. I'm just keeping an eye on the time.
Okay. Well, that's one thing I want to mention before that. Last year I went into the silence, and what came up for me was, he said, when everything falls apart, what remains? And it's
That's
not a
true.
question. It's not a question for the mind. This is experiential. It's not that you can't answer it. It's something you need
Look
to
at
contemplate.
ancient history. Look at all the buildings that have, civilizations have collapsed, but the
Yeah,
buildings are still there.
things have come, things have got everything passing, but yet we're not passing. through observation, if we just observe rather than perceive, as Jesus had said in a channel message I was listening to the other day, if we just observe, not perceive, then we're not affected by it. We're not affected by what's happening. We're just observing it, we're watching, and that's our true nature, isn't it? Our true nature is the witness. It isn't the character who's getting embroiled in it all and taking it personally and seriously. So I'll now move on to the drawing. So, can you see it?
Yes.
This is Laughing Coyote. I've channeled him a few years back, and I got a message as well. And I think it's really relevant for today to help anyone who's struggling with the mind and how we can change our mindset. So, there's an American Indian, and he's from the Sioux tribe. He has fun-loving nature, as you can see from his expression, and during his incarnation he loved to play pranks amongst his tribe. You could say he was the comedian, the fool whose job it was to use the medicine of laughter, fun, playfulness as a way of teaching and spreading wisdom amongst his tribe. In times of hardship, his comic counsel, as he puts it, was vital to bring upliftment and a reminder of not to take oneself or life too seriously, even in the midst of foreboding events or challenging situations. He would often play pranks on people to shock them out of their fixed and rigid states, to bring them back to a state of flow, simplicity, and trust. His name represents the teaching of the Coyote. Its medicine brings the message of having a balance of wisdom and folly, and that they both go hand in hand. Laughing Coyote comes to bring the message of returning to our innocence, to that part of us detached from judgment, condemning, wallowing in self-pity, critical thinking of any kind. If we wish to remove ourselves from the loops of old patterns, habits, behaviours, they must be acknowledged by the innocent part of ourselves, whilst at the same time not be bogged down by the heavy energies. And what can help in this situation is to play. Play for the pure joy of playing, and not for any other reason. Playing without any preconceived idea in mind or any desire for achievement brings the freedom of expressing one's true authenticity. It opens the door to expanding our horizons, new possibilities and opportunities. It allows us to take risks, do things wrong, and even make a mess, because what is important here is not the final outcome, but the very process of letting go, having fun, exploring, releasing through expression. Play helps us to become more adaptable and flexible in this ever-changing world we live in, and releases us from being stuck in a rut or staying in our comfort zone. Through play, we are returning to our innocence, reawakening the childlike wisdom in response to the world, and in doing so aligns us with the flow of this abundant universe. It brings poise in the midst of chaos, as it helps to ground us and bring us back to the core of our power, the wellspring of limitless ideas and inspiration. Laughing Coyote asks for us to study the way of the coyote, who is known as the trickster. Its wisdom is about tricking you out of your seriousness, to learn to laugh at yourself more and see the wisdom of your life and its events. Coyote teaches through folly you can tap into great wisdom and guidance, because wisdom is more than often than not hidden in the most unlikely of places, such as those times that we are letting go through non-serious play. The way you play is up to you. Whatever resonates makes your heart sing. All that matters is you play. You make it a part of your daily self-loving and caring routine. Coyote also teaches the importance of simplicity. Remember that Great Spirit is the eternal simple. To live in simplicity is to live in alignment with the Great Spirit you are an aspect of. Simplicity also opens the door to creativity, intuitive guidance from our very soul. So be in simplicity. Do not let the mind create complication. Know that if life feels complicated, your attention is dwelling in the wrong place. Bring yourself back to the silence within, where there are no pressures, where there are no expectations or demands. This silence that holds no stories of who or what you think you are, where there is only potential before it manifests. Be in this space and you will experience joy, peace, simplicity, and the guidance to create positive change in fun and playful ways. So I think that really sums up how we can change our mindset and how we live our life. At least implement more of it into our life. This really makes a difference.
It's really interesting because in this moment, when we decided to bring up this topic, it's having no idea how this is going to be navigated. I did research and thought, how do we bring this together? However, I do have the Amy's perspective on why the mind was made the master. The mind was never meant to be the master. It was created as a tool, a magnificent instrument for interpreting physical reality, for navigating the earth plane, for supporting creativity, logic, and curiosity. But over time, the mind was seduced by illusion, conditioned by fear, with a title it was never designed to hold. You live in a world of collective illusion, the earth plane. As beautiful as it is a realm sculpted by belief systems, structures, and patterns so tightly woven that they feel immovable. From birth, you are trained to believe in this illusion. Through family, schooling, society, and systems that tell you what is right, what is real, what is rational. It is these constructs that elevate the mind to the role of master, because they operate primarily through thought, through logic, repetition, and reinforcement. The mind becomes overwhelmed. Too much software, too many programs. It begins to glitch. And in this noisy space, the ego slips in, like a shadow pretending to be the light. The ego is not evil, it is confused. It is the part of you that believes in separation, survival, identity. It fears what it cannot control, and so it clings, manipulates, distracts, and demands. It makes hardship feel normal. It praises comparison and competition. It whispers fear and calls it intelligence. And when the soul begins to whisper, the ego raises the volume on the mind so that the heart cannot be heard. The mind in this state is loud. It drowns out spirit. It overthinks messages from your guides. It doubts synchronicity. It micromanages miracles. And it cannot ever fully comprehend the soul because the soul does not speak in reason. The soul speaks in resonance. When the mind becomes the master, the heart closes, the body tenses, the soul is locked behind thought after thought. People become robots, repeating patterns, calling it freedom, but ultimately it is a cage. This is why stillness is so powerful, why meditation matters, why your curiosity, humility, surrender, and childlike wonder are more than personality traits. They are the keys. They are reminders of how to return the mind to its rightful role as servant of the soul. You are not here to destroy the mind, only to liberate it from its illusion of power. When the heart opens, when the heart breathes slow, when presence returns, the mind becomes a beautiful scribe to the soul's story, and the ego, no longer in fear, can become an ally, a guardian of discernment rather than distortion. So ask yourself gently, beloveds, not why the mind became the master, but why you are now ready to remember that it no longer needs to be, and that is where the real journey begins.
It's beautiful, that. Well put, Amy. Can I share my poem?
Yes,
We've
quickly,
got enough
because
time.
yes.
Right. So this poem's called Let Go of Rigidity. Let go of rigidity, let go of fixed ideas, let go of any assumptions to whatever arises or appears. Instead, be fluid like water, or the breeze that playfully brushes upon your face. This uninhibited expression, not limited to identity, experience, or place. Allow these elements to be a reminder you are more than a role or physical form, or that you are just here to be like a puppet with your strings pulled to conform. No, dear ones, you're so much more than this, as your potential knows no bounds, though this cannot be accessed by seeking this through familiar external grounds. Let curiosity be your guide instead, along with an open heart and mind. Explore the uncharted waters within, as much inspiration is there to find. So I think it sort of touches on what Amy's said, more briefly.
Yes. Wow. Such a big topic.
I think we probably could cover this in a few episodes. Different avenues of it, I suppose, but
it almost sounds like this could be a series of workshops, teaching points. There is a lot to overcome and still overcome. How do you become friends with anxiety? How do you become friends with stress? How do you become stress with worry? Rather than let them consume you, how do you meet them? Like emotions are language of the soul. How do we become friends with the soul? How do we allow the soul to come through? How can we be in a position where consciousness can express itself through us freely without us trying to micromanage,
feeling inhibited
or in control, which has been an experience that I'm trying to overcome with allowing Amy to come through through words, through allowing me to step out of the way and letting go of control.
This is the key, isn't it? Getting out of the way.
When counseling and psychology is all about focus on what you can control, and I'm sitting there going, but I don't like control. I don't want to control. I want to engage. I want to participate. I don't like contracts. I like agreements. It's a change in language, but why focus on what I can control? Because it means I'm controlling something. Why do I want to control the mind when I want the mind to be free and creative? How can I merge both ends of the spectrum to become one and non-dualistic? Maybe this is the concept of being fluidic that I coined and created a word and somehow invented.
We just mentioned it in the poem, fluid like water, malleable, not fixed and rigid.
So as time is coming to a close, because I've discovered how that we could be here for hours on end as we usually do, but we are limited for time, I'll say thank you for your time, for your expressions, for your sharings, and what a journey this conversation has been. Rich, raw, and deeply real. We began by exploring the unseen forces that move us, the subtle nudges, the delays, the detours, the divine orchestration that often only makes sense in hindsight. From ghosting to synchronistic invitations, from concerts to quiet revelations, it's clear that spirit has a hand in everything if we're willing to pay attention. That's last episode. Janine's question, why has the mind been made the master, really anchored us in something profound. And as Amy shared through her insight, the mind was never meant to lead, only to serve. When it dominates, we lose connection to the soul. But when we return to the heart, through stillness, surrender, and softness, we begin to remember who we truly are. In a world that teaches control, perfection, and performance, it takes courage to choose flexibility. It takes humility to say, I don't know, but I am curious. It takes wonder to view life through the lens of a child, and awe to see the hand of spirit that it might otherwise seem like chaos. So whether you're being redirected, delayed, or called to let go of something, ask yourself, what's the invitation here? Because maybe, just maybe, the thing you're resisting is the very path your soul chose long before you arrived. Thank you to the incredible Janine for her wisdom, poetry, and presence, and thank you to you, the listener, for walking this path with us. May you find the beauty behind the seeming madness, and may your lust for life always lead you back to love. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and stay connected.